All right, a couple things to note. So I modeled this out, showed you how to basically create the top of the treasure chest. We had just an outer shell, and then we extruded. And then after class, I can't leave well enough alone, so I went ahead and UV unwrapped it and textured it and did everything myself because I wanted to do something with it. I'll actually pull up Discord. I'll show you what happened to my treasure chest, and then I'll show you how we can fix it. So I didn't pay attention. We created the top of the treasure chest. Everything looked cool. I unwrapped it. I textured it. It looked good in Blender, right? Have I talked about how Blender will lie to us sometimes? It looked good in Blender. I opened up the 3D viewer because I exported it, which I'll show you that also in a minute. I exported it as an FBX to get it in a game engine, opened it up in the Windows 3D viewer. It was fine. I got it into Hammer, which is the level editor for Valve's source engine. And look at the top of this treasure chest. What's wrong with this guy? It's not, it's the normals are flipped. It's inside out. So this treasure chest is great if the top of this is like an interior level you can walk around in. So the whole thing was flipped inside out. And I didn't notice it in Blender. Blender lied to me about it. I didn't notice it in the Windows 3D viewer because the Windows 3D viewer lied to me about it. But when I got it into an actual game engine, I was like, something doesn't look right here. Huh. So let me show you what that looks like and how we can fix that. So yeah, that was embarrassing. All right. I think we looked at this before, but apparently not enough that I forgot it. So here under my double circle thing here, this menu, overlays menu, if you hover over it, we've got this face orientation. So I'll turn that on. And if I'm in material mode, it doesn't matter. But if I go to just the solid mode, oops. So a face should be blue, meaning it's facing out. If you're seeing a red face, you're seeing the back of it. So my whole treasure chest top is inverted. And I went through the whole process before I figured that out. So let me flip that back first. So I'm just going to go here. I've got it selected. Turn on the screencast keys again. I don't know why that doesn't just stay on for me. There we go. All right. So I'll hit this, hit tab, go into edit mode. I'll hit A to select everything. And then it should be just under mesh and normals. So to me, I looked at the whole thing. There's not that many polys, right? The whole thing's inside out. So I can just say flip, which is going to flip every face I've got, make it all blue again. You might have a case where you've got a massive, like much higher poly thing. This is 28 faces in the face of this, of this thing. Not a lot. I can pan around and look at that. You've got some stuff that's inside out and some stuff that isn't, like on a 1,000 poly or more, then just flipping everything doesn't work, right? This is just a simple operation. Every face is going to go backwards from where it's at. So it'll work for me, but if you've got a much more complex case, then you can use these other ones. So it's under mesh, normals, flip just flips everything the opposite of what it was, like true equals false. Recalculate outside will try and make everything face out. Recalculate inside is great if you're building a room and you want everything to be recalculated from the inside. So if I recalculate outside, it should flip it. And just to kind of show what's going on, right? So I'm going to do this to the bottom. If I select everything there, and then mesh, and then normals, and I wanted to recalculate that inside, it all turns red. And all I've done is I've created an interior. I can't zoom in far enough, probably because of the camera. So there are cases where you want things to face inside because you want it to be a room or whatever. You're going to render from inside this object. But so recalculate outside worked, and I fixed that. And now only this YouTube video will exist to show how embarrassing that was that I did that to myself. Speaking of embarrassing, here we go. We'll just fix some attendance. All right, so I've got that flip back, and I don't need this blue faces on all the time, but it's good to turn on when you need it. So I'll turn face orientation back off, come back here, and I've already, like I said, I've already laid this out in another file. and I saved it as a separate deal. So if you're ever at a point where you're about to do something in Blender that maybe you're like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. This is an experiment. You want to save a copy of your file. Or if you're like, things are looking good here, I don't know what's going to happen in the next half hour. Sometimes you want different versions, iterative versions of your file. And so save incremental is super nice. So I had this open with my flipped face and everything. And then I just went to file and save incremental. And then it saved me a new copy of this with the number 1 on the end of it. So I'll show you what that looks like. So here's my completed deal. I've already textured it and unwrapped it. That's treasure 1. And that was my incremental save. Super handy, especially if you think you're about to break something. So save incremental is nice. I'm going to go back to open recent, which let's go back to my original treasure here. So here we go. I did save that, so it shouldn't be inside out. Again, let me just check myself. Okay, we're good. All right, so the UV unwrap. Again, I've got the thing selected. I come over here, UV editing. And I'll show you a couple of tricks. So it's already in edit mode. I've already got faces selected. I hit A to select everything. This is what's left because we had a cylinder. And let me just, you know what, let me go back. I'll backtrack. We got a few minutes. So I come back to layout here. And if I make a new cylinder, so add mesh cylinder, because that's what we started with. We'll just say we like that guy for whatever reason. This is what the cylinder unwrap originally looks like. The sides are all rolled out this way, and we got the top and the bottom polys. So that's what that started off as. Just X that out, delete it. So this guy, that's all that's left of my cylinder, right? The top and the bottom we deleted. We moved some other stuff around, and it just doesn't know what to do with those faces. So those new faces are actually living as lines somewhere in here. So if I tried to texture this as is without unwrapping it, the 6 faces that still exist would look kind of okay. Everything else would be just basically 1 pixel stretched out over the whole face. So we need to re-UV unwrap this. Simple to do. We'll hit U. If I just say unwrap, then it just blows everything up. And we can use that if we're just using pieces, but I want to use Smart UV Project. So I'll hit U, and then Smart UV Project, and then all those things. And then we get this, which is kind of a good layout, honestly, right? So here's obviously the top. Those 6 faces, they get narrower at the top, at the apex there. And then for whatever reason, the bottom part, it kept 3 of those faces together and then just threw this guy off to the side. These groups, I'll just use islands here. These groups are the underside that we created. And then the bigger ones are obviously the outside sides, and these are the inside sides. So kind of a good layout already. I'm going to move a couple of things around, though. So if I can get this guy by himself, I'm just going to slide him back over here to where he originally belonged. And then since I've got snapping on, let me see. There we go. And now he should be part of that. So again, this is just like when we're doing poly modeling. So I can select by vertex. In my UV unwrap, I can select by edges. I can select by faces. This other one is islands. And so this is like groups that are all together. So these are all islands. And now that part that I snapped in there is part of that island. Kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to, he's in the way of some stuff. I'll grab this one first. So I want this side, I'm going to overlay it on this side, so I only have to do the outer sides once, right? This is our stacking. I've got snapping on, and so I'm just going to hover over this, and now they're together, perfectly aligned. I'll do the same thing with this guy. So grab one, hover him up over the other one, and this is all snapping because I've got my magnet guy on up here, and he's snapping to vertices. Or you can do by increment, and it basically snaps along the grid here. So those look nice-ish. Didn't grab them both at the same time. Here we go. Undo that. I'm going to move these over this way. And I'm going to actually try to undo some of this and stack them. So I'm going to take this guy who is part of the underside, and I'll flip him around. Say, I'm going to rotate him. There we go. First, I'll eyeball it. And then I've got my tool down here, so I'm just going to make sure we get to type it in. It's 180, perfect. And then I'll move him over the top of the other guy down here. And he's snapped, and he's good to go. Now I've only got to do half of the underside. And I'm going to do the same with the top, actually, unless for some reason, again, I wanted something to be different on the front than on the back of this treasure chest top. Then I'm going to, let me see if I can even do it. It may throw a fit. So I'm going to grab these faces. I think if I pull them now, oh, okay, it did let me do it. All right, so I'm going to snap those off of that island. It let me do it. And I'll do the same thing I just did. So I'm going to rotate those. First we eyeball it. Now, oh my gosh, how did that happen? I got an even 180. Oh, not quite even. It lied to me. All right, so close. So do an even 180, and then I'll snap this guy back over here. And now I've only got to do that once. And I guess I could do that with these, but since I'm only going to put just the metal on there, it's fine. So everything's kind of looking good. Let me show you one other trick. So the way this unwrapped, because it had fewer, well, maybe more faces, but anyway, the way it unwrapped is different than what this one did. So if I tab and do this, here's my unwrap for the bottom. Here's my unwrap for the top. Let me see if I can select them both. So just shift and select both of those. Oh, got the wrong thing. Got that plane underneath it. All right, shift, select, shift, select. So I've got both of these selected. Go into edit mode with tab, select everything with A, and now I've got them overlaid. And I can tell that I've got some weirdness here because this, like frame, this picture frame looking bit of four faces on the bottom is the same size visually to me in 3D as this one, but this one's stretched out differently, right? So it looks longer. Maybe I needed to have baked the scale on that. I thought I did. But if I texture this with the same, like say wood grain, these pieces that are on the top are going to have like a more zoomed in wood grain because the size is different between the top and the bottom. Does that make sense? Are you believing me at all? Like, no, this guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and select all of, since I've got them all previewed on the same deal here, I'm going to try and select all of the islands from the treasure chest top here while it's kind of overlaid over the bottom, and I'm going to scale those down so that they kind of look like they're going to match a little bit better with the bottom. So I'm going to move these around. We turn snapping off for now. I'm going to move this down here. And this is just since I'm going to reuse the same Photoshop file. I just want these to kind of have the same rough scale. Scale it down some more. I'm trying to get the height of this square to match the height of this square. It looks like it's starting to. Close enough. All right, so now I didn't do this with the last one that I had inverted. Oh, and I didn't do it with this. Uh-oh. Look, I've got pieces that didn't come with me. All right, let me undo that. Fantastic. Shift and drag in the areas where I know my islands are at. There we go. That should work. They're like extra bright orange, so they should scale nicely now, all of them together. Okay, they all came with me. Perfect. And it's roughly the same size. Scale it up a little bit. Just so that it looks better. And we can move these wherever. I'll go ahead and keep them kind of closer to the middle. Looks good. Okay. So I'm going to come back here and get just the top. Now I've got all that selected, I'm going to export that. So UV, export UV layout. And then I'm going to pop that into my textures folder. Again, this is really the same thing we did before. Here's my top UV layout, and I'll just call this number 2 because I'm redoing it. So I exported that, and then we go into Photoshop. So a couple things to know. So I already did the top. I did it differently than what I'm about to do, so I'm just going to hide that. Here's the bottom. I did come back in after class. I changed some of the filters a little bit to make them look better. So I added basically an emboss on here so that as the light's coming, it looks like it's lighting it more from the top. We got some shadows over here. Hey, that's inverted. Why does that look inverted? Anyway. It added just some more definition to the metal where it meets over the wood. I moved the rivets more into place, and then I did add an extra layer here. There we go. So before, I just had this shape over the top of the wood for my lock, and I could see the wood through there. So I just went in here, and I'll show you what that looks like just by his little lonesome. I just added a square of a dark color that was in between the wood and that, so now it looks like there's a keyhole there and not just a weird random hole where I can see more wood behind it. So I did do some cleanup here on this guy, and since I've already got wood here, and I've already got metal here the way I kind of sort of wanted it to end up, and I've even already got rivets, I'm just going to reuse this guy for what I'm about to do. So I grouped all the stuff that I'd done for the bottom in a group, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. And then I did the same for the top. I'm going to take this top, I'll rename them. So top, take 1, bold. We don't want that anymore. I'm going to do a new one. So I'm going to bring in my UV layout that I just created. And thanks OBS for locking my computer up. There we go. Okay, I'm going to open. Here's layout number 2 for the top. And I might be in trouble, actually. Well, it's a good example. All right, so let me do this. So I'm going to hit Control A. I'm going to select all this. Do it? Yeah, I can just barely see the little marching ant guy over here. So I've got everything selected. Control A, Control C to copy. And if I come over here and paste, Control V. First thing I did wrong was I exported this as a 1K UV layout and not a 2K to match what I had. So I'm just going to redo that. All right, UV, export the UV layout into my textures folder as this guy, but I want it to be 2048 and not 1024. Just so that everything matches. Okay. A whole lot of just shut up and do it again in here today. All right, so I don't want this guy. I'm going to delete this layer. We'll do it all again. So File, Open, UV layout, bottom or top 2, there we go. Control A to copy, Control C to, Control A to select it all, Control C to copy, Control V, and we're here. We made it. Okay. Again, I've already got the wood, I've already got the metal, so really it's just a matter of doing the selecting and stuff. So I'm going to make a copy of all of these bases that I haven't messed with yet, and I'm going to move them up under this guy to start making my top. So, well, I don't need to actually copy the wood. The metal I do. I'm going to copy the metal. So I'm going to right click, duplicate that. I'm just going to call it top metal for now, and I'll slide him up here underneath layer 1, which is actually outline for the top. Just so I know what's what. And I'm going to grab both of these here in my layers panel, and so control click, and I've got 2 of them selected. If I just hit this folder down here, then I've made a brand new folder, a brand new group with those 2 things in it. So I can just hide everything at once or not. So there we go. So this will be my new top that I'm working on. So I've got the metal, I've got the outline. Let me go through the same process that I did before with some caveats because I did this differently. Looking at this guy. So this has kind of been our guide. There's no band along the top. There's one like going this way, but not like directly across. So my selection is going to have to be different. So I'm going to use my magic wand and I'll start selecting. So I'm going to shift and select these. And since these were a bunch of faces, I'm going to have to do some trickery. So I'm going to grab these. I'm selecting all the faces that I'm going to want a metal band around the outside of. And then wood exposed in the middle. And then see that there's a line here. I've got a pixel line between all of those things right now because of the way I selected it. I'm going to use some more select, modify stuff to fix that. So if I expand this out by 1 pixel, then I've gotten rid of the lines in the middle. And I've got just a one solid selection for each of those. And that's fine. Let me just come back in by the 1, and then I've got everything. So I contract by 1. And I've got the same size that I started with. And now I will select and modify. And I think I can remember the numbers we did last time. So we contracted by what, 50 last time? Is that right? Looks right. So now I should have the same size as there. Here's the problem. So this works for the sides. Okay, I've got metal around here. We're going to see the wood exposed underneath. But on the insides, or the top here, I've got this extra bit here because of the way I selected it. So if I just delete this part from the metal, I'm going to end up with a band of metal along the top with wood exposed. So I'm going to kind of sort of fix that, just kind of eyeballing it. So let me see the best way I want to do this. All right, I'm going to do Control-Shift-I to invert everything. I feel like it's not, there it is. Okay, I can see it. So now instead of those shapes selected, I've got everything but those shapes selected. And I'm probably just going to fix this piecemeal later. So I'm going to try to, I'm going to go to my rectangular here, and we'll just clean this up as we go. And so I want to take away from this giant selection right now. Let me zoom in some. I went off my own script and created problems for myself. Who knew? So I'll just use this, and I'm going to hold Alt. And then as I start to create a new bunch of square, I'm taking away from this everything else selected. Let's come out this far. That's fine. Actually, it doesn't matter if we come out farther because the UV doesn't go that far. So I can just make a nice big square here. And I'll clean up those edges in a minute. So we want to hold down Alt, and I'm just going to make a square here that goes to that top edge. And now I'm going to use the polygon select tool. So this lasso, we used it when we were creating our other shape earlier. I'll try and I'll hold down Alt again and just click right here at this corner, and then just kind of bring this up so it has an angle to it. Holding down Alt, I'm just clicking spots, and the whole point being I'm just adding these little bits of angle to the selection. Now it angles out instead of being straight. It's on the other side. Alt, click, 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 click thereabouts. I might have a weird issue there, but it's okay. All right, so I'm going to take my top metal, zoom back out, being very careful to preserve this selection. And what I want to do is invert this again because I want to take away from, I want to take these shapes away, not this whole area here. So right now, if I've got my top metal selected and I hit backspace, I've taken away the parts that I want to be metal and left metal where I want wood. So Control Z, I'm going to undo that. there's when to invert. So Control Shift I, invert my selection, then hit backspace. Now I've taken away the bits that I don't want metal to be at, and there's where wood's going to pop through. Deselect, and there's not a lot else we're going to do to this, but I do want this all to match. So I'm going to add my groove lines in here for where the planks meet in just a sec. But I want to fix the metal. So the metal right now is the original, like a little too yellow metal that we ended up with. And then we fixed the other one. If I hide the top here and re-show the bottom, right? We made it darker by just doing a color overlay on that metal. So I'm going to go just steal what we did before. So here's the metal banding on the bottom and all the different effects we added to it. So I'm just going to right click. I'm going to copy this layer style. I can go ahead and hide the bottom again. Unhide my new top, select this top metal. I'm just going to right click and paste the layer style in. And now I've got the recoloring, I've got the shadows, I've got all the highlight stuff the way I want it to be, and it's better. So it looks good, really, except for the rivets, which we can pop in here in a minute. I just need the lines where the planks meet. And so I had lines here on the bottom. Just going to selectively grab those things. All right, so I had some lines in there. They may not be where I want them to be for this top part. So I'm not going to use those. I'll just do something new, but I like the way those look. So I'll do the same thing. I'll copy that layer style later. So I'm going to just hide the bottom again. And I need a new layer here underneath my top metal. So I'm going to hit the plus button. Got a new layer. I'm going to drag it down underneath. This will be plank lines top. And I've actually already got a good guide for where I want those to be. I want the plank lines to match up with where our lines are in the UV, so that it looks like where those meet is where the planks meet, right? It's where our geometry meets. So simple. I'm just going to do the same thing we did before. I'm going to grab my single column marquee tool just a bit to get a better look at it. And then with this on, this outline top, I'm in the plank lines top here, but I've got my outline, let's pull this up above it. I've got my outline on so I can see where those lines are at. I'm just going to click on where those lines are at on the outline. So click, and then shift, and I'll click on this line, or roughly thereabouts. Click here. So I'm creating lines, and I want a line on the top too. So I'm going to try and get inside there. There we go. A line here, and then I'll do it at least on the outside. I like where that's at. Might as well do it on the inside too. And there we go. And that's all the lines I need. And they're just kind of matching up where our UV's at. So I've got those selected. I'm on my plank lines. And so we'll just go and replicate what we did before, which is hover just inside the line where I get the icon to change. And say fill, and then we'll fill it with a color. And I can hit Control D to deselect. And I've got my line showing up now. So now I'm just going to go borrow from myself again. So here we go. That's the new top. I need to get into the bottom here. Where's my old plank lines? Keyhole, rivets. There we go. So, oh, plank lines. That's right. I misspelled it. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to borrow this, copy layer style. Back to my new top. There's my new plank lines. Right click, paste layer style. And I've got plank lines. I've got my grooves where I need them to be. I think. I guess the last thing to do would be the rivets, and then I'll come in with the other metal band in a minute that goes along the top. So I'm just going to literally steal borrow from myself. Just hide that. We don't need this guy. Pull that group away. Get out of here. There we go. And on the bottom, I'll grab one of my rivets. Hopefully one's visible through here. There we go. I'm just hiding in a hiding layer. So I want to grab one of these rivets and copy it like we did before, and then I'll make a new set of rivets for the top. So same thing, instead of my single line marquee, I'm going to go back to my rectangular. I'm on the old rivets layer. I'm just going to select one of the rivets, and then if I hold down Alt, after I switch to my move tool, I'll hold down Alt and just move that rivet around somewhere. Then I've got a new rivet. Where'd it go? Did it not? Is it still in the same layer? Fantastic. All right, still in the same layer. That's no problem. We can fix it. So I'll go back to my selection tool, right click on this guy, and I am going to make this a new layer via cut. So I'm cutting this out of the old layer. Cool, it kept some of the layer style with it. So I'm going to move this new rivet up into my top group, slide down, and I'll hide my bottom group, and now I've just got this new rivet sitting here. He already's got the bevel and emboss on him. He's already got the outer glow. The only problem with my new rivet, I'm just going to call this top rivet, is his fill isn't set to 0, so he's still filled with that black color. So I'm just going to take that fill, pull it down to 0, and now he just looks like a pop of color of wherever he's at. So I'll move him around. Not the whole thing. There we go. Just grab the rivet. It doesn't want to do it. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab the things that are trying to go with it and lock them. So I'm going to grab plank lines top here, and I'm going to hit my lock here. I'm going to want the outline on, but I'm going to lock it. Just in case, I'm going to lock the top metal too. Okay, so I've got my top rivet, and just to be safe, I'm going to highlight him again. Then I'm going to move him. Now he can move around. And I'm just putting rivets where I need them. So in the corner there, yeah, maybe one along the other side. All right, so now I'm back to my old trick of holding down Alt and moving it. Put one roughly in the middle, put another one roughly over there. One halfway up. Oof, grabbed the wrong one. So put one about halfway up. If I'm not clicking inside the one that's highlighted, then the Alt and click to move just grabs everything. So I've got to be really careful. Now what's funky is since I decided to do this differently, and I've got a seam along the top that mirrors. Now if I put a rivet right along that seam, it's going to look weird. It's going to like mirror itself over the top of it, so I'm not going to put one right at the top like we did before. I oopsed. So I'll just Alt and just move this close to the top. We'll just put it like there-ish. I don't know why it wants to snap on me. I can use my arrow keys to fine-tune it after I've moved it. So I'm just going to use my arrow keys, move that back into place. And I'll Alt and just move this down over here. Arrow keys to move it into place. All right, so we got the top done. I don't care about rivets on the inside. So I just need the big side done. So Alt, very carefully, drag that over, put one in the corner. Alt, click inside, drag, put one in the other corner. Click inside, drag, and he's going to kind of straddle that. That's fine, but he's right at the top. And we're almost done, and then we can get to actually making some treasure to go in this. Because there's new cool things we want to look at. That looks good. I'm looking at where the light hits it. I want the light to look like it's coming from above. So the light is here, going down, so the light's all good on that side. The underside is going to be different. It's good from that side. I just need to make a new band of metal that goes up the middle of this. So first, let me move my plank lines. Right now, my plank lines are cutting into the metal. Not good. So I'm going to pull that down underneath the metal. Pull them. There we go. Pull it up top. Weird. Oh, I'm looking at the UV. I thought I still had lines there, but that's the outline. There we go. All right, so the plank lines are underneath the metal. They're not cutting into it. So just by ordering the layer here. And now I just need a metal band that goes up this way on the top, and I'll be good to go. So again, I'm going to come back down here, just hide or group this bottom, collapse that. I'm going to do another copy of the base metal. So right click on base metal. We'll duplicate that guy again. Call him top band, because that's what we're going for. Slide him all the way up into our new group. And we can have him on top of or underneath our other metal. Here, it like the groove is going over the top of my outer band, but I'm going to actually kind of fold that underneath just because it's going to be easier to UV. So I'll put this layer underneath my top metal, my new top band layer, and it's just going to be a simple matter of making a selection. I want that band to go somewhere in the middle-ish, there-ish. Control-Shift-I to get the inverse of that selection, and then backspace. And I've got a band sort of in place. Control-D, I'm going to deselect. I can use my move tool to kind of center it a little better. Where'd it go? There we go. Top band. Everything's being weird on me. Okay, we'll leave him where he's at. I don't care. Top metal, same thing. I'm going to right-click, copy the layer style. Go ahead and put that same layer style on top band. So paste the layer style, and now I've got the same coloring, I've got the same shadows and everything. I've got this band that just goes up the middle. And he should, since this is the actual, let me unhide the outline real quick. This is the actual outline where it starts to mirror, so it should look nicely. This little extra bit right here is never going to be seen on the model because our UV is not sampling that area, so it's just extra. This is me coloring outside the lines, and it doesn't matter. The lines will fix themselves. All right, now I just need some rivets up the top, so I'm going to go back to my rivets. You know, it's crazy. It is crazy. But here's where we're at. All right, so I'm just going to hide that outline. I'm back into my rivets layer. I'm just going to grab this rivet right here. Move tool, alt click, boom, I'll put a rivet there. Put a rivet there. And we're done. Come back out and just look at what we did. Because you got to look at it. So we talked about naming your files, right? Why do we do that? So you know what it is, and also because that's the example set before us. What did God tell man to do the first time? Like man's first job, naming stuff, right? What was the first thing God did when he made stuff? He said, "It is good." So take a moment, look at your stuff. We just created that. Enjoy the creation. It's good. Or at least it's okay for now. We're not God yet. We're never going to be, but we can aspire to, some of his characteristics. And so we're going to say, it's good. It's good. We like it. All right. So we're going to keep this as is. We're saying it's done. We're saying it's good. I need to export. And when I export, it's whatever's showing, right? So if I've got my outlines on, then I've got weirdness happening. So make sure that's not on. Make sure everything you want is on. Export. So whatever you export, whatever's showing is what gets exported. So I'm going to export this as a PNG. There's my treasure chest bottom. Not the bottom. Now we're doing the top. So we're doing the top texture. Again, this is all the same stuff we did with the bottom part. We're just redoing it so we don't get scared of it. Let me save what I've done in my Photoshop file. Everything should be good here. I don't need this anymore. Let me make my normal map really quick. So I'm going to go to photop.com, open from computer. I just saved in the wrong spot again, didn't I? Nope, that's it. That is it, right? Yeah, I just overwrote what I did the last time. Perfect. Okay, that's the top we just made. I'm going to open that up. There's what we just created. with our coloring outside the lines and everything. And now in Photo P, filter, 3D, normal map, and let me show you some settings I played with. So I'm going to crank the scale of this all the way up to 200, which just gives it more pop. And I think I'm going to try to invert it. I think that it's hard to tell with these colors, like what's up and what's down. But I think if I invert it, it looks more like the rivets are up higher and the shadows around the wood is down lower, right? Maybe I'm imagining it. No, that's what it looks like. So I'm going to try to invert it at a scale of 200 and then just say, okay, we'll save that. And the same thing, file, export as PNG. Treasure chest, top, instead of texture, we're going to save this as normal. Treasure chest, top, normal. Save. Did you know that for $5 a month, I don't have it. Yeah, I ain't got $5. Sorry about you. If you got $5, you don't have to have ads on the side. I don't need the site anymore. Okay, so I got my normal map. I've got my texture. I can come back here and get all set up, and things will be hunky-dory, and we can start making treasure. So, got my top selected, come down to this guy, new material, treasure top. For my base color, I'm going to click on this guy. We want an image texture, and I'll go find my newly created It Is Good texture, which is this guy. Make sure you get the PNG, not the PSD. So they look the same because that's the way I saved it. The PSD, though, if you try to ship that in a game or even just put that in an animation or whatever, that saves all those layers. That is a much larger file than just the PNG. So the PNG is flattened. It's one image. It's good to go. That's what we want to use for optimization. The PSD will work. It'll look the same, but it'll bog your computer down. So we've got that. What? That's the part I was going to fix. Okay, this is fine. So remember when I said, oh, there's something I need to fix when I bring this in, and then I didn't. When I copy this, and then I paste it, just set them to the same. We'll set this one to 80, right? So what it does is it takes whatever I copied, the whole thing, and it centers the non-alpha bit where I pasted it at. So look, I'm just going to drag a guide down here. We go. So there's my top corner sitting at just above 400 and 224, right? So there's my top corner of this part. And when I get over here, like, look, it's moved all the way up. So it took what I had, it pasted it in the middle. It's fine. We oopsed. We can fix it super easily. I'm going to come over here to UV editing. Okay, I've got all my stuff selected. All I've got to do is move it now. So check this out. We'll see. We'll do this live and in person. So I'm going to hide that. Get rid of that panel. Let me pull this over so I can go into see my materials better. Oh, okay, that works too. All right, there we go. I can see that I've got my stuff selected. I'm just going to move it. So slide it over. Looks like I just moved it down mostly. I can slide it back and forth. See the top. The top is the only part that's a little wonky. So let me just do some moving. Here we go. As I slide this back and forth, we get those to line up. Kind of cool. Let me see if I want to pull this down some or not. I want just the hint of that dark line at the top, so we'll call it good there. Yeah, there we go. Easy fix. Since I had them all selected, I moved them all together. They stayed uniform-ish. Those didn't quite line up right, but we're going to go with it for now. There again is where God was able to say it is good, and we're able to say it's good enough. You can move those individually and fix those if you want to. I don't know why those don't quite. Oh, that's why they don't line up, is because I didn't get this middle bar totally centered in Photoshop. So you can either center the middle bar or you can use the sides and have those line up, and then the middle bar just be wonky until we go fix it. Whatever, we're going to roll with it. Okay, so we still want to make some treasure. We were able to mostly fix it. I've just got to fix that middle bar later. So that's in. We're good to go there. I'm going to add the normal map. First off, I need to move it in my Blender folder so that it goes with my submission later. So I'm going to go to my downloads, where my normal exists, Control X. And then I'm going to go to Documents, Blender. I reorganize some. 2024, treasure chest, textures. Paste them in there. Yes, replace that one. Okay. Exists in my folder structure. Select. Come down to normal map. Yes, this is all repeating stuff, but we're doing the repeat on purpose. There it is, normal. All right, so hit the default. We want a normal map. Then our normal map expanded here. We want to change the color, so hit that guy. We use an image texture again. And then we just keep getting new stuff as we add. So I hit the open key, go to my textures folder, not my downloads folder. There's a treasure chest top normal. We'll open that up. We can already see the grain popping. And then let me just figure out what I set this one to. So on the bottom, I used the normal strength of just 1, I guess. It's a little bit different. And then I'm going to play with these other color things while I'm in here. So we like the shininess of, I have like 0.25 to give it a little more metallicness. I like the roughness where it's at. That's helping the normal. So we're at 0.25, 5. And then my normal map is at a strength of 1. So just make sure that's the same up here. And that should all be good. Strength of the normal is 1. All right. Looks good. Okay. Control S for the love. Save all your work. All right, so we made the treasure chest. That took way too long, but I just wanted to reiterate the UV unwrapping and texturing. Yeah, I went fast. Yeah, it was kind of complicated if you don't know Photoshop, but the UV unwrapping itself, even when we messed up, you just move the stuff around. It's fine. One thing I just want you to take away from all this, don't be scared of UV unwrapping. Don't be scared of the texturing, like we can fix it. The one thing I will note though, if I'm going to be OCD and try to fix this after my next class, I'm totally going to do that. I'm going to, if I change the texture, I'm going to have to go regenerate the normal, right? So if I move these bands and these rivets around so they're perfectly lined up, and I don't update the normal map, then it's going to look really off. Like the texture will say the rivet's here, but then like it'll bump up over here. It'll be really weird. So if you change your texture, re-export your normal. All right, we're good to go on that. I wanted to do a few things. So we got a treasure chest. Kind of looks like that. And we kind of played with the idea of coins earlier, but we'll do that again. So let me just make a quick coin. Since we're supposed to do a coin, this should not be shocking. We should be able to do coins at this point. So I'm going to do a mesh. I'm going to do a cylinder. I'm going to use my type-ins here. Instead of scaling and doing all that, I'm just going to do the stuff here right as I add. As soon as I create something, but I haven't clicked anywhere else, I've got this add whatever, and I can change the values of it. If I click off, now it's gone. Okay? But if I've just created something, so I just added a cylinder, I can change its values here and be okay. So I'm going to just make this like a really small coin. It's not a coin, that's a weapon now. So we just point, I don't know. Zoom in. I just made up some numbers. Sure. It's a big coin. I'm gonna make it a little bit thicker. Go to point. It's a thicker coin. And all right, so now my type-ins are good to go. So what did I avoid by doing that? So now, since I use the type-ins on the creation of that, I go up here to my item. My scale is 1. I didn't have to rebake the scale, right? When I started with a cube and then I scaled it and stuff, I had to rescale it in order for our different things like extrudes and insets to work right. If I use the type-ins on creation, then whatever I ended up with through those type-ins is my scale 1 without having to rebake that. So I've got a coin. We can grab all the faces and extrude it out and bevel it, or we can just inset the faces. We can do that way too. 100 ways to do anything, so I'm just going to inset those a bit. I'm going to extrude, but I want to extrude along normals, so it's not either all pushing up or all pushing down. They're all going to go kind of the same way. So we can go up, we can go down, we'll go in a little bit, and we've got the start of a coin. I'm going to inset some more and try to do some shaping and end up with this Mario coin, basically. Just do it. Okay, inset. Now we'll just scale those faces down. And just for now, you can straighten all these out and make just a line in there instead of a circle, but I'm just going to inset one more. I'm just going to extrude in one more time. And we've just got a weird looking coin. Something cool we can do, right, is I can add a normal map to this and make it pop out anyone's face I want, or whatever logos. So we can do some cool stuff with that. Let me go ahead. I'm just going to call that a day on the coin. We can make edges on it. Okay, we're not going to call it a day on the coin. Can't leave well enough alone. All right, so I'm going to grab these. I grab one edge here, and I think we did this on one of our tables. So I'm going to select rings, and then control click. Yeah, control click, and now I've got all the faces there, and now I can inset those. A little bit. There we go. Okay, well, let me do it. But that if I do them individually and then give them a thickness, all right, then we've inset them all a little bit. Then we can extrude them out. I don't know why. We've got texture on the side of the coin. It's easier to grab. So we made a coin. That's cool. The goblet, we can do a goblet. It'll be the same as the round table. We'll start with something round and just kind of shape it. I play with the idea of showing you a different way to do that, but I think we've covered enough for this week. There's one more thing I do want to show you. So I'm going to make a gold bar, and we'll material these in a minute. So go to add, we'll make a mesh, we'll make it a cube. Doesn't look like a gold bar yet. Rather than use the type-ins, I'll just eyeball it and scale it. So I'm just going to scale this down a little bit. It is, yeah. I'm trying to come up with the $5 a month to get the ads off of Photopea. Like, I've got to do something here. So I'm just scaling this bar down until he's like roughly gold bar looking. Do a Google image search for a gold bar. You'll see what we're kind of going for. Kind of like that. Watch a good old-fashioned heist flick where someone's trying to rob Fort Knox, and you'll see what a gold bar looks like. And now, let me just go to tab, and I'm just going to scale the top. Scale this guy down. And we kind of sort of got a bar. We'll move him down a little bit, maybe. I'll do one more thing to this, and then I'll show you one more new tool that I sometimes forget to show, but it's really exciting. So I'm going to go to edge mode, I've got these top 4 edges selected since I had the face selected already. This, I'm going to go grab just the edges going down my diagonal sides now, but not the bottom. Okay, I want the bottom edge to be flat. I'm going to bevel these guys just a bit. So I'm going to go to my bevel tool. Please keep up with me, mouse. All right, there we go. Bevel that some. Hold until it does something. There we go. And we'll up the segments. And he's kind of nice and rounded. He's cool looking. Okay. So he's gold bar-ish. Let me go ahead and auto smooth him. And then this will look better when I add a material to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's say we're going to look for a gold metallic hex. Hexadecimal code, not a spell. We're not doing that. There we go. D4AF37. I don't know why I didn't remember that. I'll copy that. Come over here, and I'm going to give this guy a new material that we can also share with our coin until we decide to do normal maps. So new material, I'm going to call him gold. We'll give him the base color. I can paste in that hex that I just copied. Yeah, cool. We got a gold. I'll up the metallic like a bunch. We'll go to like 0.75. Make him shiny. Pull the roughness down a lot. He's even shinier. We got a gold brick. Now you can come in here and use remember the Boolean tool that we did to put the pips in the dice? We can use a text tool now and like make a thick text that says, I don't know, U.S. government, gold, property of DET, whatever you want to do. And we can Boolean in some cool stuff and make this gold brick look cooler if you want to do that. So make me a gold brick, make me a coin. I'm going to go ahead and add this gold here to the coin. Ooh, now it looks better. I'm going to make yeah, I'm printing my name and all my gold, which is great until I go to spend it. All right, now I'm going to show you one more tool. So this is a gold brick that just came off the assembly line, okay? However they do that. This is straight from Fort Knox. Really nice gold brick. But that's not how some treasure is, right? Who's seen some good pirate movies? The treasure's kind of beat up, kind of wonky. It's been through some stuff. It still spins, but it looks old. So I'm going to make a copy of this gold brick. Let me name this gold brick first. Man's first job. There we go. Name the gold brick. Grab him, Shift D, escape, enter. Now I've got a new gold brick in the exact same spot. I'm going to pull him over this way, frame in on him, and I'll show you some stuff. So this goes a little counter to what we've been doing. We just made the lowest poly treasure chest that will work in a game, and now I'm going to add a whole bunch of polys to this gold brick. I don't know why. We're learning new things. All right, so I'm going to go take my gold brick. I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'll select my faces here, hit A to select everything, and I'm just going to go ahead and subdivide this. So I'm going to subdivide this guy up and just add a whole bunch of faces to him. So if I change the number of cuts up to like 10, let's see what that looks like. I mean, think of all the savings I've got on this treasure chest. I'm going to go to 20. All right. All the polys we just saved on our textured treasure chest, we just ruined and made our gold bar super high poly. So he exists. He looks the same as he did before. He's super high poly. I'd want to show you one more tool, and it's this guy down here. So, nope, it's this guy down here. So we've got a smooth, and we've also got a randomize. And so, okay, maybe that's too much. So we just a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, we got the type in here. Like 0.0001. And just start pulling up from there. Man, this is very fine. Okay, it's a little bit. Man, I'm like 0.0099 just to get what I was going for. But look, right? We can clean the edges up. We probably should have not done this to the corners. We shouldn't have subdivided the edges so much that we beveled. But the rest of it kind of looks good, right? It's okay. Looks like this gold brick's been around. It's done some stuff. It's a chocolate gold brick, sure. All right, let me just see if I can fix some stuff using the opposite of this tool. So I'm going to grab, I know the edges are, like, the flat stuff was nice, but since I subdivided my beveled edges, I messed it up. I could just redo this, and let me just redo this. I can just do a, yeah. Anyway, well, we'll just leave that as is. Let me come over here to my other gold bar, and we'll zoom in on this guy, and we'll see kind of what happens. So wherever we've got edges, that's where it randomizes. It doesn't add new geometry. It just takes the vertices we've got and skews them. So if I try to do the same thing here on this gold bar, the edges are all I get to mess up. So if I randomize this guy, whoa, then it's just the edges that go wonky. So let me do this properly. Tab it. I'm going to make another copy of this. So Shift D, Escape, Enter. All right. This will be the better gold brick. So, you know, we're just going to delete this guy. He's dead to me. All right. Let me zoom in on this guy, and I'm just going to subdivide the big pieces and not my edges this time because that was the dumb. All right, so I'm going to grab this face. Let's get off that tool. Let's grab this big face, this big face. And then the one on the bottom. Why not? So just got all the big faces here. Keep this selection. So I'll just subdivide those. We didn't subdivide all the edges. And I've just got those selected. So somehow the edges of this are not going to get as beat up as everything else. But now if I use the randomize tool, you can still overdo it. 0.0099, yeah. Now, the edges don't look as wonky, but we've got that beaten look on our flatter faces. And there's lots of stuff we can do with the randomize tool. There's different settings on it. So just Control Z, randomize again. So this random seed, just a random number that it's just doing its randomization off of. You can just change that. Like we like this value, but we want to just change up how it's doing it. You just change the seed. You can change the amount. Whether or not it goes along the normal. We've got some numbers for uniformity, different things we can do. But it's just kind of an extra way to do cool stuff. And I messed it up again. Yeah, no worries. So anyway, randomize is a cool tool. If you want to add, if you're not worried about your poly count, you want to add some just divots and stuff to it. I've definitely used this on like tree trunks and things like that to get them shaped weirdly. So, all of that to say, randomize. We want something randomized. Something in your scene, a gold brick, a coin, your goblet can be all beat up. Use the randomize tool a little bit just to get some nice form to it. And so we need goblets, coins, and bricks. I'm going to take off the or bananas. I'm not interested in bananas right now. I think we just squirreled hard one year and I never took that back off. So, make treasure. Make at least these 3 bits of treasure. Have fun. Make some more treasure. Bring in your old treasures. Fill your treasure chest full of sorry pieces. Oh, and 1 gold brick. Like whatever, right? So, have fun with the scene, and remember that UV unwrapping shouldn't be scary. If you're scared of it, tell yourself not to be scared. Does that work? Okay. Sometimes it works. Okay. That's it. Good luck. How is the laptop optional working out for people? I'm assuming people have picked the option they want. Some people are trying to follow along and go, man, this guy's crazy. Some people are just soaking it in and then having to rewatch a video later. Is that working okay? Yeah? All right. If you need to change it up, change it up.